Hello, everyone. I'm Yelena, Cognos Analytics Administrator. So tonight is our second session, and here is the agenda. We're going to talk more about the decision tree model. We're going to talk about the dashboards, infographics. We're going to talk about the stories. And of course, I'll try to address as many questions as you may have, okay? So, but before we do that, I have to remind you that please, do everyone a big favor. Do not change your Cognos Analytics password. It is set the same for numerous reasons. That way, if you're running into issues, me or OTA, Courtier, both of us can jump into your account and see if we are reproducing an issue or what we can do to help you, right? Uh, don't worry about your classmates logging into your account. Yes, one of you brought up the concern. No, only you're the only one who can access your account, all right? And if it's necessary, I can jump in or TA can jump in as long as you don't change the password, all right? Or another problem is if you do change your password and if you don't remember what your password is, for some reason, there is no way to recover it. The only way to move forward would be to create your new account, and you might have to restart all work, okay? So please do not touch that password. All right, so please save all your work and close all open files before you log out. And this is very important. We don't exit Cognos Analytics just by closing the tab. You need to physically log out from Cognos, from the application and also from the VDA, okay? So earlier, if you close the tab, you could not log back in until the next day because what they did was they ran the VDA reboot, and that's when all not logged out sessions were cleared. So right now, they changed the setting. If you disconnected from your session instead of logging out, you will have to wait for half an hour before you can log back in. So the setting was changed to terminate the disconnected session in half an hour, all right? So if you are disconnected, if you close the tab, you won't be able to log in for half an hour. You don't have to wait the next day now. But still, please, okay? Now, you want to use the Salesforce form only in the classroom. Do not call the UMGC help desk. What they're going to do is they're going to put their own ticket, which does not get to us for like 2 business days, all right? So please be careful. Cognos Analytics accounts will be purged 3 weeks after the class ends. If you need an extended access, your instructor needs to communicate. No problem, as long as the instructor communicates, okay? And please keep paying attention to the course announcements, okay? So here is our claims and weather data partial screenshot. That's the data that I'm going to be using today as well. So the data tracks the customer information, including their demographics, the type of the vehicle that the customer has, right? And the type of coverage that the customer has, type of accident details, and when we use that information to estimate the total claim amount, right? So we're gonna still work with that data today. As you may recall, last time I showed you how to handle the missing values. We created some hierarchies. We also created some data groups. We created the filter to filter the data rows that have effective due date with missing values, right? We did the data preparation. And the reason we did the calculations in the data module, because today, when we're going to be creating the dashboard, we don't need to create those calculations again, right? We make the work reusable. So, but what we stopped at the decision tree, and this is we're going to continue for today. Oops, but before I do anything like that, I need to go here. So I'm going to be using claims and weather data, but what data will you be using for your assignments, last 3 assignments? So for the last 3 assignments, you're going to go here in the team content, right? So you go click on here. See here, you're going to pick one data set, one of these, and you're going to stick with this through the rest of the course. You cannot upload your own data, and here is why, because not all data is suitable for Cognos Analytics. As we saw last time, if the data has some inconsistencies, it could crash the application. So we don't want this to happen, right? We have no time for this. The course is 8 weeks long and we want the incidents free, right? We want to avoid the incidents. So anyway, so I addressed that question. So now let's go to my content. And remember, last time we stopped, we had the claims and weather data exploration, and we were looking at the decision tree model. That's what we're going to continue. But before we go straight to decision tree, I need to remind you that you have this driver, you have these drivers here, right? That's a spiral visualization. Each pin shows a single, see, blue pin shows a single driver, right? One-way driver. Then the orange pin shows the combination of two drivers. And here, green is a combination of more than two drivers, which is a decision tree, right? So, oh, what's that? Oh, you cannot hear me? It could be your sound. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me? Yeah, you can. So it could be the sound. So please check, please make sure check your sounds, okay? All right? Because usually when I speak so loud that maybe people outside can hear me, even with windows closed. So anyways, so if you look at this, if you take a look at this, the driver that is which that represented with the pin closest to the center, right? The driver with the highest predictive strength, which is a location code, that's going to be used as a first column, split column in our decision tree, right? So let's look at our decision tree that I started to create last time. This is a decision tree for the total claim amount, but what I'll do is I like to go into the full screen mode when I show the decision trees to make it easier to read. And I like to close all of these extra panels, all right? That's something for you to think about it as you're taking your screenshots. So now a few things to note here. What we are predicting here, we are trying to build a model to estimate the total claim amount. Total claim amount is a number, right? So decision tree, when we use it for numeric when we use it for numeric target, right? When then you are predicting, basically you are predicting an average total claim amount for the group of claims that meet a certain criteria, let's say. And if you look at the terminal nodes, or they also called the leaf nodes, they have a shade. The shade of the node represents the average total claim amount, right? So it's not specific color, it's just shade of the node. So you start from here, and the nodes, remember, you can expand them and you can collapse them. Oops, why does it say resizing desktop? That's interesting. Okay, so what you can do is I usually collapse everything, and I'm gonna start traversing this tree from the top. So here, the top node represents all my data. Remember, each node represents a statistically significant data, if you will. So here, I hover, it shows, it represents 100% of data. It shows the number of records, and it shows the average total claim amount for all data, right? Then what do we do next? Remember that we look at the location, and depending on value of location, we take the path. So if the location is rural, we take this branch at the top, right? And here is the average total claim amount for rural location. And if you notice that this node here does not have an underline, right? Like others do. So it means that this node is not expendable. We stop here. However, if the location is urban, we take this path. This node is expendable because you see the line, right? You see this underline here. So you expand it. What is the next criteria? Next one is a vehicle class. And we take a pass depending on what the vehicle class is. If it's a two-door or if it's an SUV. At this point, we just stop here. It does not expand anymore for urban, right? But also, see this, if I highlight this here, I can see the rule here. If the location code is urban and if the vehicle class is SUV or sports car, here is an average total claim amount that I expect to have, right? But I think suburban location is more interested in this case because it represents about 2/3 of our data. See that? So this is the average total claim amount for suburban location. And I'm gonna click here, and what's gonna be next? Next, it's using the vehicle class, right, to determine the next step. So it's taking, okay, if it's a two-door or four-door car, we take this pass. If it's a sports or SUV car, we take this pass, right? But remember, we saw the sports and SUV earlier, but that was sports and SUV for urban location. Right now, we're looking for the sports and SUV for suburban location. And we keep on expanding here, right? So the next one is a coverage. And then based on coverage, we take the next pass. So if the coverage is premium, this is highlighted and I read this rule. Location code is suburban, vehicle class is a two-door or four-door car. And here, right, if it's a premium coverage type, this is my expected average total claim amount. This is $645, right? Or if you see this, if it's basic, there is another predictor that it's using. It's using marital status and so on. So you keep going until you reach the terminal node, right? So remember this, when this is for the numeric, right? This is the numeric target. For this, it's gonna use the information gain criteria. It's gonna try to pick the best predictor or combination of predictors to gain as much information from it as possible, right? There are several stopping criteria, however. There is a limit, no more than 36 nodes in a tree. And another one is no less than 25 rows or observations in a node. So like, for example, if married, see here, it married, divorced, or single. If any of these had less than 25 records, these two nodes would have merged. The split would be not possible, right? So that's one of the splitting criteria. It's looking if it's possible to gain more valuable information by adding another predictor, and it's going to be looking at the limit of 36, and it's also going to be looking at the how many observations, how many records, let's say, right, fall into each terminal node, no less than 25. That's how it works. So this is visualization of the rule. If you hover over each node, you can see the percentage of rules to which the percentage of data to which the rule applies. However, there is another visualization called tree sunburst that explicitly shows you the percentage of data to which the rule applies. So see this, I collapse the tree. I'm looking at this. What is it doing right now? So the inner circle, it represents all data. Then it's telling me it's looking at the location code, and see that it shows me that about approximately 2/3 of my data are in suburban location, right? Then here, maybe about 1/6 is urban, 1/6 in rural. If it's rural, we're done, right? There is no line. Do you see the solid line here? It means that we can expand this segment. So here we're just done, right? Again, it's gonna show us the average. But if we're looking at the suburban, see that I keep going, I keep expanding. So here, within suburban location, I'm looking at the luxury cars, right? Here I can look at my SUVs, and here the two or four-door cars. But again, here, if this rule applies to only 3% of data, it does not mean that the rule is not important. Sometimes, perhaps we may want to focus specifically on luxury cars. Well, we might not have enough data here, but just in general, if you were going to discuss perhaps your study limitations, it's worth mentioning that it would be worth to have more data on luxury cars to see more, right, for luxury cars, because luxury cars get into accidents as well, right? But you can see that here, big portion of data is your two-door cars or four-door cars. And I can click on it again, and then it's looking at the education level as the next one. And again, if it's a, see this? If we go to, oh, it's a coverage level, I mean, right? Coverage level, if you go to basic, you expand it and you keep going. But as you expand this, your tree also expands at the same time, right? So, and also rules are written in English language. See this here? You can read that. You can sort this by predicted value. So see this here, the way you read these rules, it's similar to when you highlighted the rule and traverse the tree, right? But here it's just written in English language without visualization, and you can sort it by predicted values ascending or descending. And in another column, it's gonna give you the percentage of records to which the rule applies, all right? So that's another way to see those rules. So you have a tree diagram, you have a sunburst, and you have actual rules. Here we looked at the numeric column, but sometimes you might be trying to predict a specific category or class, right? Also, it might not be the best example, but the example that I'm gonna show you is the employment status. Suppose that you want to predict the employment status. So that's another decision tree I have here for employment status. Here, it's gonna look at the classification error. So it's trying to minimize the error when it's trying to build this tree. So, and please note that instead of having the shades of the same color, each employment status value is going to be represented by a different color code. That's what's happening when you predicting something categorical. And I believe there are 2 or 3 data sets that you may choose from have a categoric target column that you're predicting, all right? No, not all data sets have a numeric. So in this case, it's a text value, right? So here, again, this is similar approach to read the tree. This node in here, it represents all data. And when I hover over this node, instead of showing me the average value, it's showing me the percentage of records for each value. Like I see this, that I have 405 disabled, I have 5,199 employed. See, so here it just tells me the percentage, right? But how do I actually predict the class? It's going to be the dominant value in each terminal or leaf node, right? So here, first thing that I'm looking at is the income. Of course, if the income is more than 44K, the person is employed, which makes sense, right? 100% employed. It might not be 100% always, but that's what it is. And there is no line, so it stopped, right? That's it. Here, it's the same thing, it's employed, but it's probably lower category. That's it. But here, it's a little bit different. You see, it's not 100%. You do see some disabled, maybe somebody is getting a disability, maybe somebody is getting that income on a medical leave, but for the most part, people are employed, right? Here it's a different bracket. Income is under about 25K. So what you do, you hover and you see the percentage of data to which the rule applies. And of course, yeah, you see unemployed, right? See that mostly, yes.
This ain't never separated yet from now your house. I ain't never got nothing from down there.
What's that? Did you say something? Did
Yes.
anyone, any questions for me? Any questions? Guys, unless you have specific questions, let's stay muted, okay? If you have specific questions, please let me know. Okay, so now, here is another income. This income here is about less than 25K. So you see this underline, I can go further. Next, we're looking at the marital status here, right? So, and if the marital status is single, so if income is under 25K and the marital status is single, well, most of those people are unemployed, right? However, well, it believes there might still be some classification error But because see that there is a small percentage of people who are disabled, right? If you hover, so let's see if we can use another predictor to get something different. Let's see what happens.
Then you told me I'm busy.
I keep muting. If you have question, please let me know in the chat and I will let you speak, okay? Otherwise, please remain muted, okay? Now, so here it just I'm checking at the response. If the response is no, then yes, it's gonna be unemployed. But what if the response is yes? It's getting interesting. Again, effective due date, if it falls under certain effective due date, it's unemployed. Otherwise, oh, it's getting more interested. See this, we have some retired people now. I keep on expanding. And what do I see here? If the sales channel is, if the insurance sales channel is agent, right? Then we are getting something different. We are getting it retired. So how do I look at the node like this? I'm gonna, the actual class, it's gonna be the most dominant. So see here, we have 86%, right, retired. So I'm gonna say that if this rule applies, right? So if the income is under 25K and the person is single and the response is yes, and this is the effective due date, and if the channel was an angel, it was an agent or branch, then that person is retired, and etc. Right? So basically, in the same another stopping criteria is also the number of records to which the rule applies. At any time, they cannot be less than 25 records, right? And the limit on number of nodes is still the 36, right? But just remember this, for numeric, we are estimating the number, but for categorical, we are predicting the actual class, okay? So this is categorical textual in this case. And you also get the sunburst. So in this case, it shows the portion or the percentage of rules to which, the percentage of data to which the rule applies, right? And as you can see it here for unemployed, you can expand if the income is under 25K, right, you can expand further. But these two categories of income are mostly employed people, okay? So how could you calculate the visualization to take a story? What do you mean? How do you articulate? Well, you basically, this one, I'm sorry, I'm trying to look at the questions. Well, we're gonna get to stories later. We're gonna get to stories in this class shortly. But for this visualization specifically, you are trying to tell. So here is my new person record, right? How do I use my model to predict the employment status of that person? So I'm going to be looking at what? I'm going to be looking at the income in this case, right? Then I'm going to see, what category, where does the income falls under? If it falls into that blue region, right, that we know it's unemployed, right, it's employed, right? And if it falls here, we know that we need to keep going. We're gonna look at this tree and we're gonna traverse this tree based on information that we know, right? But to actually create a story, you need more than one. You need more than one visualization, trust me, right? So this is just showing you the predictors. But the story is more than that. You have to look at the averages. You have to look at a lot of stuff that we're going to discuss today. So this is just a single visualization. We need to look at the big picture, but I have to show you the decision trees. So, and the difference between the categorical and numeric, because there are different data sets in to choose from, right? And I don't want you to think, decision tree is only to predict, to estimate the numerical value. No, and it's more than that. All right. So let me see. There is another message you mentioned. Well, nodes, 36 tree nodes. So this is a node. See, this is a node. This is a node. This is a node. This is a node. The tree cannot have more than 36 nodes. But the depth of the branch here, again, in this case, it's going to depend on the classification error. If it's a continuous number, it's going to look at the information gain, and it's going to keep going until it can see the information, right? Decision trees, no, decision tree can be used for both. It can be used for the numerical values, like I showed you when we predicted the average total claim amount. That was used for the numerical, right? It can also be used for categorical. Here, we're predicting employment status. Employment status is a category. So here, decision trees can be used for both. I showed you how to use it for the categorical, and I showed you how to use it for numeric. That's what we did. I showed you 2 examples. This last time I showed you only for numeric, and I said that we're gonna dive deeper this time. So this time I showed you that it's also possible to use it for categorical. So it's both. When you're doing it for numeric, it's gonna estimate the average total claim amount like we did, right? Or the average house value. We use the national housing data, right? Or if you're using the cars data, right, that folder, one of the data set is cars, and you're trying to, you could predict all the horsepower, car horsepower, and or instead you can focus on the car efficiency, right? So that's gonna be something that you're predicting. You're gonna be using, you're gonna build decision tree to estimate the horsepower or to estimate the efficiency. The efficiency in that case is the miles per gallon that the car consumes. That's a consumption, right? So if you use that, all right? Depends on which data you use, but you need to have a clear understanding what's the purpose of your study, right? Employment status is not a good example, but I just showed you that it's possible, all right? It just shows you the possibility. I did not want to use a different data set. I want to keep it simple for the demo. But this specific data set is for total claim amount, okay? But again, for categorical, you can also see the rules, okay? So the whole idea is that suppose that I have a new record. How would I use my decision tree to predict the employment status for the new record? I'm gonna try to see, I'm gonna traverse the tree and see which of these fits my new record better, right? Same thing for the numeric. I'm gonna traverse the tree, right? I hope it makes sense a little bit more, let's say, right? So this is for the decision tree. Remember that you have to look at the driver analysis. You have to look at the visualizations for your drivers, right? So if I was looking at the earlier decision tree, when we were looking at the total claim amount, right? You see that location code is a first driver, right? It's used as it's a one-way drive with a high predictive range. Probably I want to do some visualizations for that. Why don't I want to visualize perhaps the average total claim amount per location code, and then maybe I want to look at the average total claim amount by vehicle class within location code, something like that, right? Maybe I want to look at percentage of claims or percentage of people that I have in each location code, something like that, right? You probably want to look at the rules that apply to the most data, but again, if the rule applies to the least data, it does not mean that the rule is not important, right? Well, it's up to you. See, it's your paper, and the way you see it might be different from the way I see it. Even if 100 students write a paper on the same data, it's going to be different paper, trust me, because you see things differently from what I see. You know what I'm saying? So I hope that helps. That's decision tree. But also, I want you to know this. If you look at these explorations, right? I cannot change the color. So see, that's another visualization we looked at. But there is no way to add text to these visualizations. There is no way to select one data point. Like for instance, if I want to select my state Missouri here, and I want the rest of my visualizations to apply to only for the state of Missouri. It's not possible, right? It's also not possible to add any widgets such as images, shapes, and text. We cannot do it here. We cannot show multiple visualizations at the same time. See, I just have this card. We cannot do the tabs here. So what our next topic is going to be the dashboard. So I'm going to exit the full screen. Oops. I don't want to disconnect, so I want to cancel. If you accidentally click that, please exit out. Okay, do not disconnect, okay? So now I have to go to view toolbar and I'm gonna do restore. That will exit the full screen, but I like to use full screen every time when I show the decision tree to make it easier to read, right? So now we're gonna go back to our slides for this session. I spelled it out, right? So I spelled out most of what I said for the decision tree for numeric target, right? And also remember this, sometimes if the decision tree overall predictive strength is under 10%, it won't be displayed. So for some data, decision tree is not possible. If the overall predictive strength is under 10%, then it's not going to be available, right? And also you see the decision trees in the driver analysis. Remember, we were looking at the driver analysis. And if you look here, so that's a driver analysis for total claim amount. And you can see the visualization for each individual driver. And the driver with highest predictive strength is going to be closer to the right, right? And we see here that our tree has overall predictive strength 78%, never 80. So that's a tree here. See that? That also, this visualization also shows here. Okay. So that's what it says here. I spelled it out. You're going to have the slides. So you could also filter out to see the top highest or the top lowest, right? Or you can see all the nodes. You can see the decision rules, and I talked about that here. And also there is a video on sunburst visualization and decision tree rules that was recorded for you, but it's only for the numeric, all right? All right. Oh, another thing that I forgot to show you is that you may control which columns are used or not used as a driver. So if I go to my tree, right, I can go to the fields, all right? So that's a total claim amount. And here I can do something called edit scope. And the scope tells me which columns I want to use as part of the prediction. And if you see this asterisk, it means that it's a recommended column. And I can always remove or I can add something that is not recommended here. See, I can control which columns I want to use, which I don't want. So on the left-hand side, can you use to add more fields to predict? You mean here I can add more fields? Yes. Like in here, if you see the field in here that is not part of the recommended fields, you would just select it and add it, right? But in this case, state code is already in there, right? This is already in there, but if it was not, you could just highlight it and add it. Yes, you can, okay? How did I do that? How do I get that? Sure, I'm gonna repeat that now. I need to close out of it first. Okay, so for each visualization, you have something called fields, right? Field specifies what data is being visualized. And if you see this asterisk, it means the field is required. So here I'm visualizing the total claim amount. I click here, right? I have two options. I can remove, well, in this case, remove the column will remove the field from visualization. That's not what you want. You want to click on the edit scope, right? And here you see the recommended items for analysis. And sometimes you might have a column that is not recommended and you want to use it, right? And it's going to be in here, okay? And you can edit. You can always select and unselect, all right? This is just about editing scope. I showed you that it's possible, all right? Okay, sure, most welcome, most welcome. But let me see if I addressed other questions before I, okay. Left, can you add? Yes, you can add more fields, yes. So now let's go back to our slides. And I was mentioning that there are a lot of functionalities that we don't have on exploration. The whole idea is that exploration, I'm going to get some insights about my data, but this is not something that I'm going to present my manager or present my instructor in this case, instructor grading the work, right? You probably want to create a dashboard to present your insights, right? The dashboards can have one or more tabs, independent if you're using a dashboard or infographic, but we're going to use dashboard in this case. And you may change the theme. You may use the grid lines to adjust how things appear, right? You can change the appearance properties. You can, well, remember that the visualizations on the same tab are going to be linked as long as they use the same data source. So you can select one point in one visualization and the same data point will be highlighted in others. I'll show you. You can apply the filter to all tabs or to the single tab. We're going to look at it today. At the dashboard, you can add text, you can add widgets, in addition to just visualization. You can reuse your visualization from exploration workspace. You may toggle between edit mode and view mode, right? The dashboard, it has an edit mode and view mode. Edit mode is when you are editing it, and view is when your instructor or when your manager, right, is looking at it. Just imagine you were showing it to your professor, right? Maybe doing a recording or something. So you're going to be showing it in a view mode. Edit mode is when you're making changes to it, right? You may create calculations inside the dashboard, but I wouldn't do it this way because if it's a calculation that I want to be reusable in other dashboards, I will go back to my data module and create the calculation there. You may undo the latest changes until the point when you reopen the dashboard. So if you're working on a dashboard, you saved it, you close it, then you reopen it. You cannot undo any changes that you made before you closed it, okay? So now we're going to look at how to create the dashboard, right? But before that, we do that. So this is my exploration. And I have some visualizations that I want to reuse when I create my dashboard, right? How do you do it? So see here, I have this visualization here. There is something called pin. Pin pins are the visualization set aside. It's a set of visualizations that perhaps maybe there are certain visualizations where I want to use in multiple dashboards on total claim amounts, right? So here, this is a cross-tab visualization where I have the column. The columns here shows the location type, right? Rural, suburban, urban, and this is the vehicle class, right? As I may have mentioned earlier, you probably want to look at the averages visualized this way, right? So here it is. And maybe somehow I want to use this visualization in my dashboard. And I don't want to recreate that visualization. So here's what I can do. Do you see this pin here? I can pin this visualization, and this visualization is going to appear in my pins. So I did not have any pins before today, right? So see this, it's here, but if I have a lot of pins, what you could do is you could search them. You can search for pins that you created past months, right? You can, and right, you can search for pins that you created like today. This is today, right? Yesterday, I did not create anything yesterday. Past months means that over the last month, right? Earlier, nope, it's earlier than 1 month, so no. You can search at past week. So past week is over last 7 days, right? Or also you can search by the pin title, right? So right now I have only one pin. So what I'm saying might not make quite sense, but as you keep on working, you might be adding more pins here, and you might search for the pins, all right? And That way, it's easier to reuse your visualization when you create the dashboard, which is what I'm about to do. I'm about to create the dashboard. But first, let's close this, right? Okay, so now I'm gonna create the new dashboard. How do I do it? Well, of course, you can go here from the menu, click new and select dashboard. You can do it this way, right? However, if you do it this way, you will have to specify the data source, right? You will have to find it. But I know that this is the data that I want to use. I want to use this data, claims and weather data module in my content. So the easier way is to do this. Click on the actions menu, and I'm just gonna do create dashboard, right? I want to select this, create dashboard. What's next? Right now, I see that I have two types of dashboards. I have a tab dashboard and I have infographic. Infographic is a single long page where all visualizations appear on the same tab, right? There are no tabs. Everything is on the same page. Tab, as the name says, it's gonna be split into tabs. You have, this one is a free form, so the disadvantage of freeform is that it does not adjust based on the screen resolution and the screen size. But here, it's already divided into panels for you. It's a pre-formatted. One thing to remember is that the more visualizations you put on a page, the longer the page can take to load. So I like 2x2. This is my favorite and I'm gonna stick with it, right? I choose this layout. And I'm gonna click on create. Let's see what it's gonna do now. Some of it looks familiar, doesn't it? So here, this is my data source. It knows what data source I'm using because I used the menu on the data source, right, to create the dashboard. I didn't just click on new, then I would have to find the data source. It's a little bit, well, I don't say that it's not possible, but I just like it like this. It's clear. Here is my data, and this is what I'm doing, right? So that's a data source. Remember, what we did was we created filters that we can apply to visualizations as needed, right? Personal claim for small vehicles. We created that selectable filter last time. It's here. We created the navigation path in the data module. It's still here. See that? We did that last time. Then when I expand this, right? What we did is, see this, we created the data group. It's still gonna be here for you. We we applied all the filters that we applied are gonna be still applied. The filters that we defined in the data module, right? The embedded filter, it's still applied, right? We don't need to remove the data rows where effective today is missing again, right? And it's also reusing the calculations. Do you remember we had a monthly premium, right? If you go back to data module and recreate the annual premium, it will be here, right? So if you need to create another calculation, you create it in data module and it will be available, okay? We discussed the groups, yes. We discussed the column grouping, and also there is a video on data groups. We discussed the grouping for numerical columns and for category columns. And okay. Oh, what do you mean? If a data module got deleted, that's it. You cannot restore if you delete something. Okay. Well, okay. Basically, this is what's happening. You have a data set. From data set, you create a data module, right? If you accidentally delete the data set, the data module is goodbye. That's it. You cannot restore it. That's it. So you need to be super careful. If you delete it, it's gone. Remember the picture I had in the last presentation? There is no recycle bin here. That's it. If it's gone, right? Undo. To undo, you can undo the latest changes up to until the last time you close it. Yes. Don't quite remember if there is a limit on number of changes, but certainly after you close it, you cannot undo anything else, okay? How to fix it? There is no way to fix it. So that's it. If you deleted the data module, there is no way to undo. Well, the only way to undo would be, but it's going to hurt the rest of the class, is for me to contact the vendor to take the database from backup, which is not good. We do it only if it's absolutely necessary, only if there is a system crash. Then we have to go back to the vendor and to restore it, because the work that we do is stored in a database, okay? If there is a total system crash, then we will have to restore it from as is it was yesterday, right? It happened last semester. So just saying you, now we moved on to the new version. Some issues that we had last semester have been addressed either by this new version or by me making tighter permissions. They're a little bit tighter permissions than last semester, all right? So if anything is deleted, that's it, it's gone. Okay, just keep that in mind. All right, so those are the columns in your data, right? It's the columns in the data module. Now, what is here? This is the area where you can apply the filters. We're gonna get to it. And again, this session is gonna be long, but please don't let it scare you. You will need to watch the recording more than once, right? So here are the tabs. By default, I have just one tab with a 2x2 layout. And I can add another tab. When I add another tab, I can use the same layout or I can select a different layout. But 2x2 is my favorite, but maybe your favorite could be different. Who knows, right? So this is a second tab. It's possible to have a different layout on different tabs. Okay, you can always change template. This is how you change this layout. You can always make a copy of the tab. You can delete the tab, or you can also edit the title. Okay. So Yelena has been emphasizing the importance of saving the work, but she has not done so for this dashboard yet. I have to save my dashboard, okay? Okay. Okay. So the question is if you can get another copy of the data from the team content to save under my content to start over. Yes, you can always make another copy, yes. But wait a minute, what do you mean? If you accidentally delete your data, yes, you can get another copy, but the problem is your data module is going to be invalid. All your visualizations are going to be invalid, so please do not delete, because there is a relationship. It's related because your data module is identified by there is a identification number, right? Each file has some identification number. Your data module is pointing to that data, to the data source, right? That's a specific data identified by the number. Even if you get a different copy of the data with the same name, no, there is no way to restore what you had. So please be cautious, okay? I had a student who deleted something by accident on the last day of class. Thankfully, they took screenshots, so they did not lose everything, but okay, so please do not delete, okay? Yes, so that's what it is. Do not do this, okay? There is no way to fix it, unfortunately, unless we take a backup of the whole database from yesterday, and it's gonna hurt everybody else in the class because they're gonna lose the data. If I call the vendor, we take the data, everything as of last night, it means that anybody else who did the work between last night and now is gonna lose their work. So no, don't even think about it. It's not gonna happen. If you delete it, it's gone. Let's think of it this way, okay? So now, Elena has been shouting at us to save the work, but she hasn't done so yet. So let's save this dashboard. How do I know I did not save it? Because first of all, I see the asterisk here, right? It means my work was not saved. And also, what is new dashboard? I want to probably do something like a descriptive name. So I'm just gonna say, let's just say, um, total claim dashboard, right? Total claim dashboard. Okay, I'm gonna save it like this. Okay. Okay, so, okay. Yes, but thank you, Amanda. I'm so glad you brought it up because sometimes we have people who lose work, okay? So now, if you delete, then that's it, you know? So that's it. You don't want to do. Please don't do it. Please watch out. Okay, now. Okay, think about this here. I put the name, but why is the save button grayed out? Because I'm in the team content. I cannot save anything in the team content. I need to go to my content, and then I'm gonna click save, and it's gonna let me save this dashboard, right? I always tell people to save, but I forgot to save, okay? So here we've got two tabs right now. I mentioned that you can play around with the properties, right? So what properties can you play around? The properties that you have available depends on what you currently have selected. Those are the overall canvas properties, right? You can select the positioning, etc., right? If you want to see the grid or not, or you can also change the color code. And this is the overall, those are the overall properties. So this is the tabs, right? And you can change how the tab labels appear, right? So here I can style both tabs or I can style the individual tabs. So I can change my tab title color to red, just an example. And if I want to show in green the tab that is being selected, you can change the tab fill color, right? So this is just playing around with the tabs, okay? Okay, no worries. I'm so glad somebody asked because we want to discuss it here and make an actual mistake, okay? So now I don't mean to turn it into a traffic light, but I'm just showing you that you can change color. Those are the properties for both tabs. I can also set those properties for individual tabs. Like for example, for the tab 2, I can override the default colors that I set, right, for all tabs. Or I can also add an icon, etc., right? So I can add an icon for the second tab, right? So this is just playing with the tab properties. So now what? I said that we can add visualizations, right? So let's go ahead and add visualizations. How do we add visualizations? There are multiple ways here. One way is to reuse pins, right? I can't just do this. Drag and drop and see this. I have to hover over this arrow. If I do this, then the size of my visualization is going to be the size of this panel. That's it. I did not do much work. I just drag and drop and I have my visualization, right? And remember that what I did earlier was I added this pin in data exploration and I can reuse the visualization here. Or I could also do this. I could go to visualization library and just as an example, I can create, this is a pie chart. I can drag and drop here. And now what? First of all, I have to specify what I'm trying to visualize. I must know the segments and the segment size at least, right? So I want the segment to be the state. So I just drag and drop the state. I can do it this way. Or instead of drag and drop, I can go like this. So for my size, right, I want to be customer. So I just clicked here and it's going to list me fields. I can do it like this too. So this is a visualization. Now what I want to do, I'm going to click here. This is called visualization in the focus mode. When I actually maximize my visualization itself, and I want to play around with the properties. As you may have discussed earlier, the purpose of the pie chart is to show the percentage of the whole, right? At the moment, it shows me the number of customers is just in each state. It doesn't show me the percentage of the whole. So how can we fix it? Well, here I've got something called properties, right? I go to my properties and let's look at the properties of the pie chart. Well, first of all, you can change the color scheme if you want to, all right? So now you can also go to the chart properties itself, right? And in the chart properties itself, you can say if you want to see percentages. Yes, I want to see the labels and I also want to see the percentages. So now it shows me the percentages of my data for each segment. Then I can also make it look like a donut. If I do, then it shows me the total number of customers here, right? Then what else you can do? You can just play around with different properties. This one is to show inner label. You can turn on and off, right? Whether you want to show the label shadow. So I can let you play around with this. Those are just the general properties. Oh, you can also change this title. See this? Then you have the text properties for the title. And I want to do something like customer percentage. I can just edit it here, right? And what properties for the title are? I can make it bold. I can change the size, etc. I can change the alignment, right? So those are the text properties, right? How to decide which variables to use for this visualization? I just decided that I want to see the percentage of customers by the state. I just decided. It's gonna be up to you. It depends on what your visualization is trying to show. So in my mind, I said, okay, let me see the percentage of customers by state. Then I'm gonna try to think, okay, wait a minute, which visualizations shows the percentage of the whole? It's a pie chart. All right. So I want to see the percentage of customers by state. So how do I do it? Of course, each slice has to be the state, right? And the size of the slice has to be the percentage of the customers, right? So this is how I did it. First, I need to think about what I want to show. And then, right, first I had to write down in my English sentence, what am I trying to achieve, right? And then based on that, I need to go back to the software and say, how do I use the software to show this and that? So you need to think about it, right? Well, there is a histogram, and I'm gonna try to make a recording. There is a little trick, and okay, let's do this. I'm gonna try to create a video on how to create a histogram. There is a little trick you would have to do. There is a binning that you would need to set. Okay, so this is an excellent question. So this excellent question came up, and I'm going to create a video on how to create the histogram in Cognos. Will that help? I think this is something that will benefit the whole class. So we're gonna do this. I'll have a video on the histograms. Okay? There is a trick that you need to play, and I'm gonna do that. And you're gonna have this for your other two assignments. So I'll take care of it. Okay? So now let's save this for right now. Okay? And what I was saying earlier is that you can select one data point, right? And the same data point will be selected across all visualizations. And I'll show you that too. Okay, so yes, histograms are very tricky, and it helps best if I do the step-by-step video for you. Okay, so now, see this? I can come back, right? I can add two more here, two more visualizations, right? So here I show the percentage of customers by state. Then perhaps I want to, well, what else can I do? I can add, in addition to visualizations, I can add a text, right? So here are the widgets, and I have a video, oops, here. This is here. So here I created a video for you on how to add images and how to add the text boxes to the dashboard. So basically, I'm just gonna click here, but please do not show this portion of this presentation to other students because they're gonna get jealous. What I'm about to type. I love data 605, okay? But please, please, please do not show this to other students because they're gonna envy, okay? So I put I love data 605, right? So this is a text. And if I go to properties here, those are the properties of the text, right? For the images, you cannot copy and paste the picture directly. You need to get the image URL on the web, right? And then you have to put the URL to an image, okay? Okay, yeah. I'm so glad I get somebody to smile, love. Okay, now you can also add shapes and you can add images, right? But to add an image, you don't copy and paste the picture directly. What you do is you add this widget. Oops. Let's close this properties. I'm gonna scroll here. See, I did not like the way it got edited, right? I can undo. See this? I can undo the changes, right? Let's just go to the second tab and add this here. So this is an image, right? Now I need to specify the URL. Suppose that I want to put a picture of the car. So I go here, I just put car, accident, picture, right? Something like that. And I can search my Google Images, right? So what you do is you need to get the URL of this image. So how do you do it? It's probably you can try this. You can try copy link, then you go to another tab and see if it copied the link. It has to be something.jpg, right? So in this case, it did not. So you have to play around. You can click on this. See this, go to the image. You can try to do this. Go to open link in your new window, right? That's a link in the new window. And then you can try to copy link from here, okay? It depends on the tab, okay? Oh, see this copy image link. I copy image link, but you have to have something that ends with GPG on PNG. See, I got it. See this? This is a link. You have to copy image link. Now you do this, Control C, right? You go back to your Cognos thing, and you paste it here, right? Oh, Control V. Oh, thanks goodness, copy and paste works. Sometimes it doesn't. Oh, see this? Now I'm having a little problem because I did not copy it right. So I go here again. You can go to the properties, right? And in the properties, you have to specify this image. So let's delete this thing, right? And I take this picture link. I took that picture link, right? Did not take the correct link. So let's see. For some reason, it's not working. If it's not working, you're going to copy it here and see, okay, it works here, right? So let's go back to my VGA and I can open another tab here. Let's see if that link works here. It does, right? So now let's try again. I'm going to delete everything from here. Let's see. Yes, it worked. So sometimes you have to troubleshoot a little bit. You need to make sure that your link is actually working, right? That's what I did. See, you cannot copy and paste the picture, but you have to specify the link, right? What example? Oh, what example text would I use on the dashboard? Yes, I'm going to show you. I prepared a very good example for you, and I'll show you. There are several examples that I prepared. But right now, okay, so I showed you multiple ways to add visualizations, right? So now let's close this out and I'll show you there are several demos. There is a filters demo that I prepared for you. This is a filters example. We look at that and then we're going to look at the sample dashboard that I created and we're going to convert it as a story. But let's look at this filters example. So in this dashboard, I have the state code and average total claim amount for the state code. Here, I have another visualization that also shows the state code, but it also shows the location type, right? And it shows me the averages, right? And then I have a second tab, and in second tab, I'm also showing something for each state. Is it? I'm showing something for each state. So now let's see how filters work. But before that, I have to take my dashboard in edit mode because I cannot make any changes if I'm in the view mode. So if this button is green, then I am in the edit mode. So now see here, if I want to apply the filter to all tabs, what I have to do, I have to go to the source and I'm going to drag and drop the state code. I intentionally do this, drag and drop the state code, and I'm going to select Iowa and Missouri, and I'm going to click on done. Let's see what's going to happen. On this tab, both visualizations are filtered to Iowa and Missouri. When I go to the second tab, it also filtered for Iowa and Missouri. I no longer see my other states, right? So this is the filter applied to all tabs. Go back. if I delete this filter, right, I can also define the filter only for this tab. So I'm going to drag and drop my step code here. And I want to select Oklahoma and Nebraska. Done. See this? It got filtered for Oklahoma and Nebraska. On the other hand, I go here and it's not filtered for Oklahoma and Nebraska. It's because I applied the filter only to that specific tab, right? So I go back to the first tab and I see that I applied this filter and I selected two values. Okay, I can delete this filter and I'm back to what it was. But what I mentioned earlier, see this, I selected the Kansas state and the same state is selected in another visualization in the same tab, see? I selected the state to show here, it showed me the overall average total claim amount for this state. Here, it's breaking it down. It's showing me the overall summary for the state, but it also shows me for the location code, right? So I can select one data point in one visualization, and the same data point will be selected in all visualization as long as they use the same data source. But let's see if it did it. Nope, it does not do it on another tab. It's only on the same tab, and both visualizations need to use the same data source because it's possible to use more than one data source when you create dashboard. Okay, just know it. But let's save it for right now. So now we're gonna go to more detailed example, and I showed you where I use text. Okay, so here is claims and weather dashboard that I created for you. Let's open this and take a look at this. I have 4 tabs, and I intentionally numbered each tabs, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. In this case, I use the text for the title, average total claim amount, and total claim analysis. That's what I called it. And it's a text, right? It's a text box. What is this? This is an image, right? I want to put it on a cover page. Sometimes we may also put it on another page of the dashboard as an explanation of something you want to clarify, perhaps, right? So that's another example, but I'm using it as a title, for example, here, right? Right now, I cannot make any changes to it. Why? Because my dashboard is in a view mode. I flip it to the edit mode if I want to be able to make changes. But see, I have 4 tabs. This one, this tab, I took my homework from assignment 6 and just put all of this, right? The drivers, the spiral visualizations, etc. Then I want to look at the average total claim amount. So this one is just a summary visualization, right? Just shows the average. That's it. And remember that there is one of the properties of each field that shows how that field is being summarized, right? If I did not change that property in the data module, in every single visualization, I would have to change it. I would have to say that I want to look at the average total claim amount. I don't care about the sum of all claims, right? I don't want to see like a million something here. I want to know the average total claim amount, right? So see that this is just the summary visualization. Then I said, okay, let's add a table here, right? And this table just shows me there are 2 columns. First column is the location code, and another column is the average total claim amount for that location code. See, like the fields, you can look at the fields, and then you can look at see that the fields is just a location code and total claim amount. It's gonna show the average total claim amount for the location code. This is just the table, right? Similarly, I could add more columns. I can see the average income, etc. Right? So this is it's gonna be your presentation, and you do what you think it's necessary. But also there is another property here called the summaries, right? This is a summary color. I chose to show the summary row in this color. I can do that, right? That's another one, etc. Right? So I have these visualizations here. So, but here is a limitation. There is no way to add the animations here. Like for example, in this slide here, I have 4 visualizations. Maybe it's a little bit too much to observe. Perhaps I want to show the first visualization for a couple minutes, then for a minute perhaps, then in 1 minute I want to show this one, the tree, or maybe I want to see the spiral first, maybe half a minute, then in half a minute I want to see the drivers, in another half a minute I want to see the tree, and then another half a minute I want to see the sunburst. Maybe I don't want to see all of it at once, right? Or there is no transition, right? Well, it's kind of like a PowerPoint, but not quite, because you can also specify the transitions between the stories. So we're going to create a story now. But here is how to cheat here. So this is a dashboard. I have 4 tabs, right? I did a lot of homework in here. If you do a lot of hard work on your assignment 7, here is a shortcut for your assignment 1. For assignment 8, take a look at this. See this here? Save as a story. So you're gonna go here and you're gonna save this dashboard as a story. At the moment, just for right now, let me select the slideshow. Okay, I'm gonna select the slideshow. And I'm just gonna click on the select. Now what? By default, it's gonna name it as story. See, it's gonna prefix the word story and put, this is the same as my dashboard name, right? So it's gonna name it story, claims and weather dashboard. Okay, and we need to make sure that I'm saving it in the my content, and I'm gonna click save, and let's see what's gonna happen. This is a story, right? So that takes us to the stories topic. Oops. So that's, we talked about that was the dashboard, right? Those slides are for the dashboard, and I spelled out what I talked to you about. Okay, how to save the dashboard, ways to add the change properties, ways to add visualizations. But trust me, if I was going through all of these visualizations, we would have been here until tomorrow. So some of it needs to be done as a video, okay? So I'm trying to get to the slide where I'm showing you, we went through filters. Here it is, story. You can create a new story from scratch. If you do that, you would have to do a lot of work. You would have to specify the data source. You would have to add scenes, define the scene layout manually. You would have to create all the visualizations manually. It's a lot of work. I find it easier to create a dashboard and then to export the dashboard as a story. So this is a story. Every tab in my dashboard becomes the story scene. I'm not limited to what I add in my dashboard. I can add more things with more visualizations if I want to. No problem, I can do that, right? But just know you have this shortcut for your last assignment, but you have to do an outstanding job on your assignment 7. It will save you tons of hours on your last assignment, okay? And there are some similarities that, see that you have source, and all the calculations that we created earlier are also available for our stories, right? You can create new calculation, but then again, it will be available only in the story. You want to create the calculations in the data module, okay? If you delete the data module, this story is gonna be goodbye, or what do you call it, kaput. That's it. There's nothing you can do to fix it, okay? Unless we hurt everybody else and restore the database to whatever it was before you made the deletion. But then everybody else will lose their work from that point on. So just for yourself, think about it that no, if you deleted something, it's gone. That's it. So please think twice. Or if you think you want to delete it, create a subfolder for yourself called trash can and put it in that folder, okay? But don't actually delete if you use that source for visualizations. Okay, so I mentioned that you can define the visualization. So see here, I have this, it's a lot to process, right? So here, this is filters area again. I can define filter for one scene or for multiple. I'm just gonna minimize this area. Each scene of a story has a timeline, and timeline specifies when objects are visible and when they're not visible. So here, the marker starts at 0 seconds, and by default, the scene duration is 5 seconds. So what you could do is you can drag and drop the edges of the corresponding objects to tell when they become visible. Like see, like for example, I don't want to see the sunburst visualizations until the end. So I can just drag and drop here. And again, I'm not limited to 6 seconds. I can expand this guy here, right? And suppose that I don't want to see the decision tree, right? So I can do it like this. And then I can also change this, right? Like that. And there is additional property here. I can specify how this visualization appears. So if I go to properties here, see this for the visualization, we specify the starting time and we specify, so that's animation property. We specify the start time, right? And how you want it to enter. You want it to enter the fade in or you want it to enter the slide in, right? So I can select the first one's fade in or the third one. I can go to animation and I can say that I want to start it as slide in, right? This is just specifies how your visualization will appear, right? So I just go here and I can specify the animation that I want to be just like that, right? I can specify any, and you just saw quick preview, right? So now I specify that, then I can close it. See, this is I have the timeline open, and if I want to, I can just go the preview the scene, right? So let's do it this way. I can see. Let's preview the scene. Oops, it's previewing all scenes. Okay, go to this scene. Now we're gonna go to next scene, right? It's just previewing all scenes. I just go to next one, come on, and gonna play. See what happens. See, I specified how I want the visualization to show, and it did it for me exactly what I specified. But see this one, I extended the edge, right? I just extended, so this one shows more than 6 seconds because this is what I did. And for this one, you can also specify how you want it to disappear, right? So that's an animation. You have the entrance and you also have the exit property, right? You can specify how this exits, fades out, or you can do it slide out, right? So for each one, you can specify the entrance properties and the exit properties, right? So for each scene, you can specify the timeline. Timeline shows when things appear, disappear, and how they appear, disappear, right? So let's close this out, and I want to save it. I've been telling people to save their work, but how can I tell people to do something if I'm not doing it myself, right? So there is another property here where you want to play all things. So when you do preview, you want to play all of them. And then here, what I did was I showed you this a layout, right? And I spelled out the differences between layouts for you. Okay, so as a difference here, that slideshow is when you have each scene shows on a different canvas, right? But also there is a guided journey where each scene shows on the same canvas. So I'm gonna just go ahead and change these properties. At a moment, see this, it's a slideshow. I can change this to the guided journey and I can specify the transitions that I want. Not sure why, but I prefer this one. But again, your preferences is different from mine. But the reason I like it is because see this over here, I can click here and I can see all of my scenes. It's very convenient to take a screenshot if it's something that I need to submit for the grade, right? So I can show, hey, professor, I did my story and my story has 4 scenes and here are the scenes, something like that, right? So I like that. But again, your likes are different from mine. So anyway, but see if I switch this and you can do just the preview, right? See the difference? It's reusing the same canvas, right? and it's gonna apply the same animations that I defined, right? I specified when things appear, disappear. I did not specify anything for the last two things, but see, you will need to play around with this. Make sure you leave yourself enough time to play around. Another thing that I need to tell you is I saved my dashboard as a story, right? Then if you do that, any changes that you're gonna make to your dashboard after this are not gonna be applied to the story. So I recommend if you use this approach that you're totally done with your dashboard before you save it as a story, okay? So again, for the stories, you can specify it's a scene. Each tab becomes a scene, and you can specify the scene duration, right? You can create the story the way I did it, just from the dashboard, or you can create it from scratch. If I was doing it from scratch, we would be here until morning. So no, right? And well, what I recommend is leave yourself some time to play around with different properties, with different visualizations that you have, and choose what you think works for your data. What works for this data might not work for life expectancy data, right? And life expectancy, remember that there are some missing values in that data, right? That's about the stories. Okay. Uh, what do you mean? Well, what do you mean the duplicate? At the time of creating the data module, you mistakenly have a duplicate in the my content. Uh, what do you mean the duplicate? You mean I'm trying to understand. If you have more than one file open, you mean? Or what is that? What do you mean by duplicate? I'm trying to understand the question. Okay. Oh, you have multiple files open. You need to close everything that you have open. Just if I click here, it shows me what I have open. Before I end the session, I have to close all of this. See this? I should not see anything that is open. I recommend close everything before save and close everything before you end the session. Okay? Those are not the duplicates. You open the same file only once, right? Those are different files that I have open. I have the dashboard and I have the story open, okay? So there are two files. So now I'm going to close this and I'm going to close this, okay? I hope it makes sense, right? Because there are a couple advanced topics that I wanted to show you. The first advanced topic is the top dashboard. I'll show you that. Does it affect your work or not? Well, you have to save it and close it. It's gonna be here. It's in my content. If you save it, you save it and you close it. It should not. Oh, what do you mean have it duplicated? I'm not following it. You mean you created the files that you don't want to? Then you just don't save it. You exit out and you don't save it. Like for example, see here if I have this claims and weather data, right? Claims and weather data, and accidentally go here, create data module, but it's not what I meant to do, right? No problem. I can just go this here. That's it. That's it. Don't save. No problem. It's not a problem. I did not lose anything. Okay. Oh, multiple files created but don't need it. If it's really not needed, then you can delete it. But if you're not quite sure if it's needed or not, you can do this. You can create folder and you can call that folder trash and move it to that folder. You can do it this way, right? Or you can delete, but what I'm trying to say, what you could do is this. You can create the folder, right? And I called it trash, all right? And if there's something that I believe that I might not longer need, I can just move it, right? I can just move it, right? I can just move it. Oops, I got it open by accident. Oh, you can move it to your folder. You can create a subfolder and you can move it. Just do it this way, because what if you delete something that you did not mean to? Well, you can delete it, but I'm not saying that you cannot delete it. But when you delete something, just remember, make sure, triple make sure that it's not something that you need, right? See this? I don't need this folder. I can go ahead and delete. The folder was empty, right? Oops. No. Wait a minute. Let me recheck. I selected one item to delete. Oh, wait, there is nothing in here, right? So I can go ahead and delete. Well, I'm not saying that you cannot delete something, but if you delete something, you need to be very careful, okay? Because if I was going to delete this data set here, the rest of the work that I have here is going to be invalid, okay? The rest of the work will be garbage, and there is no way to fix it. I could not figure out, and I've read there is no way to figure it out. So, okay. Another thing I wanted to show you is that there is a widget here. It's in advanced. It's in the widgets here, not widgets right here. This is called a nested dashboard. So it's possible to have another dashboard inside dashboard. Okay, so what is this right here? This is another dashboard. I have original dashboard tab with a 2x2 layout, and instead of single visualization, I added another dashboard here, and that another dashboard that I added, it has 3 tabs, right? Because sometimes, let's see this here, I have this decision tree, and what I meant to do is on the first tab here, I have different location codes and the averages for those location codes, right? So, okay, well, that's an excellent question. I may need to create more videos to search for missing data. That's excellent question. Okay, I need to. Okay, what I'll do is I'm gonna write my notes. So making a note. So missing data, right? I have to write myself a note. So I'm gonna do more on missing data, and I'm gonna do more on a histogram. Okay. I'm gonna do that, okay? Because the way to do it is you would go to data module and filter. That's one way, okay? So I'm gonna work on the videos for that. Okay, that's excellent, okay? Excellent. I have excellent questions. So I'm gonna create a bunch of new videos that's gonna be helpful for the rest of the class, right? But see here what I'm doing here, I'm showing the location code, right? Yes, total claim amount. That's a location code. Okay. Here I can go to vehicle class, right? It's just showing me the averages, total claim amount by vehicle class, by marital status, etc. But what I could do is this. Look, this is connected to the out dashboard visualization. See this? I select this row here, rural, and it's going to select part of the tree here to which it applies. See this? It's going to show only part of the tree to which the selected row is applied. I can select something here, and it's going to select the first visual. It's going to adjust the visualization accordingly based on the selection here. See? See this? It selected. I selected the suburban. See this? I selected the suburban average total claim amount, and now it's only showing me part of decision tree that applies to suburban, right? Then I can do the same thing for my other here vehicle class. So see this? I'm saving the space on my dashboard. If I don't need to see all these 3 visualizations at the same time, I can put those in a separate tab. See this? So you can nest the dashboard inside one inside the other. I am not sure how many levels you can have to nest them, but in this case, I'm only doing one nested. So just know that it's possible to have the nested dashboard inside the dashboard. And you can select the data point on the nested dashboard, and the data that applies to that same data point will be selected on my outside dashboard, right? Also, if I defined any filter here, any filters that I defined for this, see the filters that you defined here are only for the outside dashboard, right? For the main dashboard. Any filters that I defined here will also apply to my inner dashboard. So just know that it's possible to nest one dashboard inside the other. It could be something more detailed that you want to look at, or sometimes you need to look at different average, but you don't want to take up the whole space. You don't need to be looking at something at the same time. So you probably can add the nested dashboard and you can navigate between the tabs like this, right? So just know that it's possible, okay? So that's one of the topics. It's not in the slides, but just know it's possible to create nested dashboard. Then also there is one visualization in there that is a little bit advanced. I have this claims and weather dashboard, and the visualization that I show you here, this one, it's a little bit more advanced. It has conditional colors. So let's click on edit. I select this one, this guy here. And if you go to first, let's see what I'm doing here. What I was trying to do here is that I was trying to show the average total claim amount, and I wanted to do it by the vehicle code, but I also wanted to look at it within the location type, right, and the coverage type. Because if you look at my decision tree, the way the splitting goes is that it's looking at the location code, right? Then it's also looking at the vehicle class, and it's looking at the coverage type. So I wanted to show this way, but I wanted to do something special. I wanted to highlight the average total claim amount where it's under 100, and I wanted to highlight if it's over 1000, right? So first of all, what fields are being visualized? Column is a vehicle class. Rows, I put the location code and the coverage. So it gets broken down, but inside the location code, it's broken down by the coverage. See that? And I have some summary. So this summary is for the rural, right? And for the fodder car within the rural locations. See, I have nice summaries here. I have summaries for the overall vehicle class. I have a summary for uh, the vehicle class by the location code, right? And I have summaries for the that one. It's gonna show for the location code is urban, and the coverage. See, this location code is urban, and the coverage is premium, and this is the overall summary, right? But also, see, you're looking at the intersection of the columns and the rows, right? So what is this? How do you look at it? If it's a four-door car, and if the location type is rural, and the coverage type is basic, right? So this is the average total claim amount, right? So if I go to properties, this is what I did. First of all, I specify the color, how I want my summaries to show. Then I went back to so here, right, conditional color. What am I gonna do the color on? I'm showing the total claim. So of course, the conditional color is on a total claim amount. Then you would have to add the color group. And important, very important, you have to specify the scale. The scale is numeric here. I'm not looking at the percentages. I'm looking at the numeric. And what I did here, specify the rule. And in the rule, you're gonna specify this if the value is less than 100, right? I want to show text in the green, a no fill color, and the indicator is a down arrow. Then I have another rule, and I say this: if it's greater than 100, if it's greater than 1000, that I want to show text in red, and then arrow is up, right? So this one is a conditional formatting, right? You can use a different color or different indicator based on the value. I wanted to show you this, and I believe, don't recall if there is a video on this or not, but that's what it is, right? So it's that. And I'm gonna make sure that I'll create more videos for you, but I need to know what topics you're interested in, right? So And now I know the histogram and more on missing values. Okay. This one here just shows you the slide for the story and the steps to save dashboard as a story, right? Then it's gonna go back here and show you that each tab in the dashboard corresponds to the scene within the story, right? And this is again that link for the videos playlist. So let's see what questions you may have and what videos you would like to see, because yeah, I like to create more videos, but I need to know which topics the students would like to be interested in, okay? Anybody? Anyone? Any questions? Any topics that you want to propose the videos on? Because it all started, some of them started as student questions, some of them started as me deciding, okay, well, let's see, you know, anything. No? I'm sure that there are questions, but let's see. Maybe. Oh, you can email me, sure. But if you need assistance, you can also yeah, you can email, yes, and also in the ticket submit this. Yeah. The the quickest way to search for missing data, yes, I'll show you that. But of course, you could always filter it, right? The amount of rows in data module. Okay. Doesn't it show the number of rows? Count, right? You can do the count to see the number of rows, right? How to access what? Oh, you will have access to the you will have access to the recording, yes, and the slides, yes. Extract data from the file. Okay. Oh, well, it depends on what data. You don't see the missing values, okay? It depends on what data, but you can always filter it. So let's do this. Let's quickly do something here. I'm gonna save this. And let's go to the my data module, right? And you can define filter. You can say to show the row only if the value is missing, right? That's one way. So let's close this out. So I can go to claims and weather. Let's go to claims and weather data module, right? Here it is. I'm gonna go to edit data module. And do you remember, like if I go here, how could I see the missing? Well, in this case, I handled the missing values. So you probably might not see it, but let's close this again and let's create the new data module from data with missing values. So here is my data, right? Let's go here, create data module, and I'm gonna save it as, I'm gonna save it as data module with missing values, right? Missing values, okay? Okay, so here it is. I'm gonna go save it now, but I have to save it to where? My content, right? So if you want to see the rows that missing are value, you probably want to go to, you can always define the filter, right? So like for instance, I don't know if response is missing a value. So let's do this. Let's I can define the filter, right? Oh, see this? For categorical, it's very easy because one of the values is null. So I know that there are missing values, see? So if it's a textual column, it's very easy because when I try to apply the filter, it's gonna show me that I have missing values. And if I want to see only rows with missing, click here, okay, there we go. I have two rows missing the response value. See that? So now I know it. And I can unfilter, right? So how do I unfilter? Well, I can just go undo, right? So that's simple, right? And for the numeric, one way you can do is you can just see let's find something here. Okay, income, right? I can define the filter here again. Filter. I don't like to use this. I like to use expression editor, right? Oh, but see here, it shows include missing values. See this? It shows here that there are missing values. Uh-huh. See this when you define the filter range? See this? Uh-huh. You can see that there are missing values, right? Or you can also, I hope it helps a little bit, okay? To do filter. Well, yes, it could skew your data, but for the outliers, the way you could also do it, it depends on the analysis. You can do the binning. Like, for example, suppose that we have some unusual people with unusual number of unusual income, right? Then I could bin it if it was important. I could say, okay, people who earn more than $100,000, or people who earn less than certain amount. You can do the binning. That's one way, right? Because see, you want to sometimes, in some cases, you don't want to, let's say, you don't want to skew the data, right? You want to work with the data as is sometimes, right? Or sometimes it depends on the analysis that you're doing, okay? Expression editor is complicated. Well, it might be, but if you work with it for a while, you'll get used to it. Basically, expression editor is where you specify fields and you specify the operations that you want to use on fields. But something very important. So when you define the expression, you want to validate it first. Please do not save invalid expression, okay? Because it's gonna crash your data module, and in some cases, it's also crash the system. So please, 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 just watch out when you define your calculation. You always want to validate to make sure that expression is valid, right? Like when you defined, see that's a data module, right? And if I do something like if I define my calculation, like for example, where is it? Um, not income, but this is like monthly premium auto, right? If I go here, if I want to create the calculation, and I like to use the calculation editor, and suppose that I want to do something like annual, right? So that's gonna be monthly multiplied by 12, right? You always want to make sure that the syntax is valid, because if the syntax is invalid, you're gonna be in trouble later, right? So I do validate to make sure the syntax is correct. Suppose that I did it in a hurry and I did not validate it and I just clicked on OK. At the moment, it's still not too late. You can still click on undo and that will undo the change, right? But after you save it and close this file, it's going to be too late, okay? So please make sure that there is nothing invalid, because if you put something with an invalid expression, it's going to invalidate your data module and it's going to invalidate all visualizations. So please work, okay? Can you go over missing values for in expression editor? Sure. So in expression editor, a missing value, it means missing, right? So you can say something like this. You can define the filter, for example, right? Like see claims and weather. Let's say, what did we do it? We created the filter last time, right? So I can say something like this. I want to get rid of my records where where something is missing, right? Perhaps maybe income is missing. So what you would do is you can go to you need to define the filter. So I click here and usually you click here, go to properties. That's one way to get the properties. And in the properties, you're gonna see the filters, right? Filters, and I like expression editor. Okay, I go add a filter, and suppose that I want to see my rows that are missing a certain value, right? So I can do this. I can say something like income, income. And now I need to put my operator, right? Where are my operators? Here it is. See, this is missing. I can say this income is missing. So what will that do is it will only show the rows where income values are missing. Again, what can I do? Am I just gonna save it without validating? No, I need to validate. And you need to make sure that you see this green check mark, the expression is valid before you save it, before you do this, before you click on OK, okay? If you cannot fix the syntax error at the moment, just cancel out and do some research on the syntax. Maybe if it's a long expression, break it down and work on smaller pieces to see if you get syntax a function at a time, okay? Okay, now let's see. Now it's gonna show me the rows where income is missing. There are 3 rows, right? Oh, notice it also shows the coverage blank for those rows. But if you go to the income column, you will see that the values are missing for each row that is now selected. See that? You can do that, right? It's an expression editor. I hope it helps. And remember, in a database, missing values are shown as null. Because what is this? This is actually database, and all your work is stored in a database. All right? Because there have been times when the students did something that crashed the system. Unfortunately, there was no way that could be done. The only thing that could be done is to go back to the last day. Sometimes it happens. If students do something to crash the application, we have to go back to yesterday's, as of yesterday. And all work done today will be lost. I know it. I know that's not what you want. I know that's not what I want. But there have been cases when we had to do it. But now, this semester, we did not have to do it yet, not once. We did not have to do any going back to the past date, not once. Last semester we did, okay? You can use if-else operator. It depends on what you're trying to do, okay? You can create a calculation with if-else, right? Or if you want to replace the missing values with a column average, then you have to use if-else. So let's close this out. And if you go back to my claims and weather data module, I'll show you what I'm doing. I changed the expressions. So let's go to the column. I think it's in the accident type. Accident type, something like that. I'm trying to find it. Not claim reason, but there is a column that has missing values, the categorical column, and I treat all missing values as other. Okay? I think it's on something like a type. Let's see. No, not policy type. No. There is a column that has okay, it's not stated. No, claim reason. Sorry, claim reason column. So if I look here, if I look at the column properties, what I did was I modified the properties here. Oh, that's clicked on the wrong one. I have to click on the claim reason, right? Reason. If I don't see it, I can just type it reason. Okay, claim reason. Let's look at the properties of this column. Okay, so I click here, and this is what I did in here. I say, if claim is missing, then I want to show it as other. Otherwise, I want to show it as is, right? Little difficult to read, so I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do prettify to make it indent for you, okay? But what is it doing here? I said this. I took well, see what it is this is a column that is being read from the Excel file. To create the data module, I'm reading data from Excel file, right? To claim reason, is a column in Excel file that is being read. And I say this, if this claim reason is missing, then I want to put the text other. I want to treat it as other. Otherwise, I want to show it as is. I believe there is a video on this. It all depends on what you're doing. Or maybe you could create another column where the value is based on something else, something like that, you know. Again, there is no right or wrong answer. It depends on what you are doing, okay? So I need to, well, basically, instead of clicking around the software, you need to look at your data and in English sentence, write down what you're trying to achieve, okay? Like for example, you were doing the housing, right? House value. I want to see how house value depends on the distance from the highway, something like that, right? So I have it in English sentence. I know what I'm trying to achieve. Next step is how am I going to use my Cognos Analytics software to achieve this, to show this, right? So because sometimes if you're going to say I'm lost, right? I'm gonna try, me or TA, we're gonna ask you, what exactly are you trying to look at? What visualizations are you looking for? We're not gonna do your homework, but we're gonna answer questions like, how do I use Cognos Analytics to do the histogram, right? Something like that. These questions we're gonna answer, right? But we're not gonna say, how do I do my homework? Or, Yelena, do your homework for me. If I do the homework for you, what's gonna happen? Your professor will submit the Salesforce ticket, right? Yelena will be added to the gradebook and Yelena is gonna get the grade. It's simple as that. Yelena does the work, Yelena gets graded, or TA gets graded, whoever it does the work, right? But we answer questions like this, like how do I use the software to do something, right? Or we can recommend to use something, but not doing it the homework for you, but you know, something like that. Oh, okay, so you say you created the visualization and you decided to cancel or create another one, right? You can delete the visualizations, absolutely. Yeah, you can delete the visualization, not a problem. It's not going to affect anything unless you have, well, you don't have another visualization that depends on it. That's it, you delete visualization, no problem. But but big problem is that when you delete the data and you have visualizations based on the data, but to contact us, you need to submit the Salesforce ticket. Then we're gonna be talking uh, through the Salesforce system. All right, you submit the ticket. Me and the T and Oscar, both of us will help you. But it also depends on what questions we get. Again, we're gonna answer questions on how to use the software to do something. Yes. If you have issues with accessing your account, Oscar is gonna work with you. But please, please leave the password alone. Do not change it. Okay? But just all questions need to be tracked in the Salesforce. That's why we don't give direct email. Because everything related to the software, the school needs to know what TAs did, what questions were asked, how did we answer them, and if we created something like a knowledge base or sets of videos, because other students may have the same question. Okay? we don't give the email, but we need to submit tickets. Uh, what is this? Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Hide from user. Excellent question. Hide from user. When you hide the column from user, the column won't be visible for data visualization. Okay? The column is the user, when the user creates the explorations, they're not going to see that column. On the other hand, you can use that column inside the data module to create calculations with it. But it won't be, if I go to exploration, I won't see this column. Correct. Like in here, there is a column called row ID. That column is hidden. Maybe I can use hidden column for my calculations, but when I create the data exploration from this data module, I won't see those columns. Sometimes the reason could be the security, or maybe you may have multiple copies of the data module for different people. Like for instance, if somebody is not from HR department, you don't want to see somebody's salary, right? Things like that. So you're probably gonna hide it. There are multiple reasons why you want to hide. Part of it is a security. Part of it, the column could be used as part of bigger calculation, and you don't want to see people to use intermediate steps. So there are multiple reasons, right? So you need to submit the ticket. That's why we don't give emails directly. But if we have to, we're gonna be communicating via email. Everything must be tracked in the ticket. I hope it makes sense because otherwise, yeah, you submit the case, and we're gonna work with you. Me and Oscar, we're gonna see because I read those too, and I see. So I addressed several issues today that I've seen in emails here and there. So I said no change in password. I repeated it. I said no, you cannot use your own data because we have only 8 weeks. We cannot crash the system. Not all data is good for Cognos analytics. As we saw it last semester, there was one column that I had to remove from Nashville data because some students managed to do something that crashed the system. There were a couple records that were inconsistent. It was a date column, so I had to take out that column. It was a big mess. So you don't want to do something that crashes the system to the point that we have to go back to yesterday's date. But if you go back to yesterday, it means all work that was done between yesterday and today was lost. So we did not have to do it, not once. Okay? We did not have to do it. Not once this semester. Okay? And also because this is what I did. Okay, so do you see this right now? I'm in my content, right? I'm in my content right now. So this is the data. In my content, I see these options: create exploration, create data module. I see it, right? The problem was some students did not follow the instructions. This is what they did. They went to the data, right? And they went to the data and they directly, without making a copy to my content, that try to create data module from the data in the team content directly. No way. So what I did was I had to ban it. I removed those options from the files in the team folder. So it's a little bit tighter security this semester. So you cannot do it because I'm not gonna stay out there and say, hey, do not create the data module from data that is in team content. I'm gonna take it away. So that way you won't be able to do what you're not supposed to, right? So last semester there were two issues. First issue was the students could create data module from file in the team content straight. So now it's forbidden, right? That was solved. And the second issue was issue with the data itself. So it had to be tracked because that way we can say, hey, this was an issue last semester. This is what was done by an admin or maybe the server admin. This was done to fix it. See, everything like this has to be tracked. How many people it impacted and all of that. So that's why we need the Salesforce ticket, right? Or if I help you with something privately, I don't have it documented how many students it affected. I don't know if it's just one person not following instruction, or if it's a global issue, or if it's something that we need to adjust permissions or something like that. See, so everything, and maybe if multiple students have the same questions, why not to create a video or a document or something to help everyone, right? I hope it makes sense. Well, I explained multiple reasons why we need to track it all in tickets because it stays documented, right? We can go back to the what happened last semester. Why? Oh, they can say, Elena, why did you disable these options? And I can go back to my ticket and say, hey, when it was enabled, this is what happened. Things like that, right? Any other questions, guys? I know it's a lot, but we need to see tickets and we know where people stand. Okay. Okay, no worries. If there are no more questions, you're gonna get this recording, but the recording takes a bit of time to generate, so I'm gonna send it to Professor. Okay? All right, and thank you guys. So I'm gonna stop the recording, and again, I want to thank you for attending this session. I know it was long, but you have to watch. You need to watch the recording more than once. Trust me. Okay. Stop the recording.